Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out. It's great to see everybody in the media here, TV, radio, print, especially on a rainy, nasty day for something new, and it'd be easy to blow it off. So we really appreciate everyone being here to talk about the Champions League. My name is Bob Ramsey. Some of you know me. Been involved with college basketball, certainly here for a long, long time, and it's a real honor to be here. So what do I have to do with pro basketball? Well, maybe I get the attendance prize. I've just been here long enough to remember pro basketball in St. Louis. Really special to me as a kid growing up with the St. Louis Hawks and, Bill Bridges and Walt Bellamy and Lou Hudson and the great Skip Carey. People don't remember when he was a kid, he was a great basketball play-by-play man and kind of made me want to do basketball. Those were great times. And then the Hawks broke my heart and left. But the Spirits came in and tried to fill the void with guys like Marvin Barnes and Maurice Lucas and Moses Malone and Gus Gerard and Fly Williams and many more. And then they left. And many of you may not remember, pro basketball came back briefly, very short period of time. I think you only had to buy 4 games to be a season ticket holder. We were part of the Kansas City Omaha Kings experiment over at the Oakland Avenue Arena. And while it was fun, it was brief. Well, since then, with a couple of rare exceptions, it's been 35 years or so since St. Louis has really had pro basketball, and that brings us to today. And I want to bring to the podium and get this thing started and really tell you what this is all about as we bring pro basketball back to our St. Louis home court and to tell us about the inaugural Champions League basketball event that'll be held right here at Chaifetz Arena on January 29th. Please welcome the chairman and CEO of the Champions League, Carl George. Carl?
Well, thank you. 30 years ago, I watched Michael Jordan dunk from my seat underneath the back, the hoop, basketball net at the arena here in St. Louis. And Chicago used to come here and play exhibition games. Now they go to Milan. You're actually in the majority. 29 states in the U.S. have no NBA basketball teams. We're going to take existing players and start to bring basketball to a wider market. Champions was built for the fans. It's a fans league and bringing more of what fans want. Great basketball, great marketing events, using players straight out of the NBA. It's only for players from the NBA. It's not an aspirational league for guys who might make it to the NBA. It's only for guys who have been on NBA teams, truly the world's greatest basketball players. What we're doing is taking this great pool of players, turning that into 2 things, turning that into a summer league that'll play in 16 cities in the U.S., play 7 home games, 7 away games, and then a championship. So it's a summer basketball league in major cities around the country. And then in our off season, which for us is 9 months out of the year, we do charity and we do Champions for Community events. We play basketball in the non-NBA cities and states, places like Tampa, Seattle, Austin, St. Louis, Kansas City, Albuquerque, Columbus, Louisville. Great markets, every one of them. Got a large amount of endorsers and sponsors we've teamed up with. We'll also have an interest in sports and in sports being brought across the country. So our effort is really about taking this great group of players and extending their careers, about creating an opportunity for them to continue to play. The average player leaves the NBA at the age of 27. The average player peaks in their athletic ability at the age of 30. So they have not yet reached their peak if you want to assess the actual skill of the athletes. More importantly, they're loved by the fans. Of the 110 players who left the NBA last year, 92 of them had been All-Americans in high school or college. Those are the folks who make it to the NBA. So the reality is for us to connect them back to the community and to make this part of an overall program of community and social responsibility in sports. Here in St. Louis, you have something called the Musical Moments, terrific program sponsored by the Sports Commission. We're going to add athletes to that program throughout the year. This isn't about just being here one time. It's about building a relationship, bringing teams, athletes, all-stars, and Hall of Famers to the marketplace for the fans, for the community, and turning this into an opportunity that'll last for years and years to come. We spent several years in the development of this before we rolled it out, because a lot of people have announced leagues. A lot of people have shown up and disappeared shortly thereafter. We built this really from the players' side and then the fans' side to find where you can connect those two and where you can do that the best. What we're pleased to announce today is on January 29th, we're going to host our first event here in St. Louis, here in the Chaifetz Arena, in conjunction with the Sports Commission and in conjunction with the fans and the local marketplace. We're going to turn this into a local event. We're going to turn it into something everybody can participate in and be a part of. It's going to benefit the V Foundation, which was founded by Jimmy Valvano, one of basketball's great stories and great legends, as well as the Stuart Scott Cancer Research Foundation, another tremendous resource within the community. Those two organizations are folks that we'll host events for on an ongoing basis. We're also going to host and work with the Barnes Children's Hospital. Make sure that we involve our players and our activities at a local level so it doesn't become a one-time event, but let's come back and play several times a year. Let's bring professional basketball back in a way that's sustainable. But more importantly, the All-Stars, Hall of Famers, and others that everybody's known and grown up and loved. I'm particularly appreciative of Frank Viverito and the Sports Commission, as well as Bob's introduction today. Bob's got the longest standing record in Missouri for continuous involvement in basketball. And we want to make sure that we team up with folks who've got depth and history. Some of our players have joined us today, and we'll let them talk about what this means for them. But I will tell you, in working with players for the last 2 years, you hear some really great stories about how great their career was and then how sudden its end was. My favorite one is from Trent Tucker. Trent was with the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls for 14 years. He tells a story about going back to the Knicks game the following season after retiring, and by the way, part of the world champion Chicago Bulls. He went back to a Knicks game, and when he went to the locker room, he had to go up and get a pass. And he said, you know, the security guard that sent him up to get a pass had been coming to his house to his Christmas party for 10 years. The reality is that it's a very, very distinct process that a player goes through. It's not a transition, it's more like a cliff. And the reality is 110 players, the most accomplished at their sport in the world, go through this every year. If you go down to the D League, that's for players who want to make it back, and it pays $25,000. If you go overseas, you have to leave your family for 7 months. So we've built good jobs people can be part of. They can continue to play for 1, 2, 3 years with us, and then go into our non-playing aspects, our charitable operations, our coaching, our clinics, our camps, our front offices, so they can truly build a career path that we all, quite frankly, have. Only a professional athlete has no career path. And that's the truth of it. So we're going to address that. We're going to build this. We're thrilled to be here. We're going to have a great event on that evening. We're going to have a halftime event, which is going to be a slam dunk contest rooted in St. Louis. It'll start the month before. And then we'll bring in some slam dunk geniuses from around the world. And we're going to turn it into just a fun family night. Got affordable tickets. They're $25 on average, which is lower than any professional sport in the country. And that's meant really to engage fans. And if you buy 4 tickets, you get a neighborhood kid ticket for free. So the reality is we want everybody to come out and join us. You can also find out a lot more about us at our website, which is championsbasketballusa.com. And you'll see a lot more coming on that website as we name additional players, additional all-stars, and we continue to build out the teams that'll be here that evening. I'll turn this back over to Bob, let him carry us on, and then we'll do a Q&A and have lunch and spend some time together. Thanks.
Thanks, Carl. Well, you can't have a game without players and coaches, and we're delighted to have with us today 3 tremendous NBA veterans. I'll introduce them, and then each of them can take turns in making a comment about the event. First of all, most people in the room know the gentleman to my immediate right, one of the most talented players ever to come out of St. Louis, one of the greatest Billikens of all time, and a terrific NBA veteran player who still gives back in the world of basketball to his home community, St. Louis, Larry Hughes. To his right, he'll be a part of the coaching staff when we come back with the Champions game on the 29th of January. He was a former NBA All-Star with the Detroit Pistons, Theo Ratliff, and from Duke University, and a 14-year NBA veteran, does great work currently with the Corey Cares Foundation. It's Corey Maggette, and we're proud and excited to have all of them here. Let's go one at a time. Larry, step up and talk a little bit about this game coming back to St. Louis and lacing them up again.
How's everybody doing? Good? Lift this up just a little bit. Well, I'm excited just to the fact that we have, some of my, former colleagues and my former teammates, and obviously my friends, because the basketball, the NBA is definitely a brotherhood, and we build lifelong friendships as we play the sport. Having these players come to St. Louis and play, obviously, in the Chaifetz Arena is a positive for our community, allowing our fans to see positive people that they can model themselves after, experiences around that, being a fan-friendly event, allowing kids in our community to get autographs, take pictures, things that they don't normally get without having a professional basketball team here locally. And I'm just pleased to be a part of something that's based on community, charity, and also the fact of competition, which we always love competition. So thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Let's bring up a gentleman who will be coaching this group, and I don't know how much fitness is going to come into it and how you do a rotation, but Theo Ratliff, come on up and talk about helping run the show.
Well, first off, thank you guys for being here. Thank Carl for this great opportunity. I've spent many years on the Players Union Board, and we always talked about guys going into transition from the NBA. And it's always a hard task to kind of get a group of guys and have them going on a similar path, because basketball is what we've done all our lives, and so that's what we became professionals in. So now having an opportunity, one with the Champion League, is, I think, a great organization that's gonna give a lot of guys an opportunity to continue to brand themselves in their communities, because I think that's where everything is based on. It's based on being back in your community, and it's tons of guys that's doing great things in the community, like Larry and Corey and myself. And guys want to have the opportunity to continue to be able to do more, but have that particular platform that can help bridge the gap as far as with them going into their second careers. Have an opportunity to coach some of my colleagues. I'm sure I'm gonna get a whole lot of problems and attitudes about the playing time and all that, but no, it's always great. Anytime you have an opportunity to do a charity event, especially when you bring it back, your colleagues, and getting to rub shoulders with guys and be out in the community and having the fans to see guys for the first time really in person, is always a great thing, and we look forward to being a big part of it. The Jimmy B Foundation, and now the Stuart Scott piece with the foundation, they've all been a big part of our lives in the basketball world, so it's going to be a great opportunity and a great show.
Thank you, Theo. Now let's welcome Corey Maggette. And Corey, talk a little bit about being a player and out on the court again, and also you're here, okay, and what it means raising money and awareness for these charitable causes.
Well, first of all, it's a great opportunity to be here, and I'm very thankful to be here. At the end of the day, we're here because it's something that Carl put together as far as a feeder system for guys that have been out of the league. And for me, Larry, as well as Theo, we have made that transition. I'm just recently removed and have made the transition to work for Fox Sports for Prime Ticket with the Clippers. And it's really hard for guys to have an opportunity to get out of the game and like you said, you kind of jump off a cliff. And now, you know, what Carl has done is to kind of empower guys, not just to play the game of basketball, but also with being the general managers, being coaches, being the feeder system, broadcasting, really just trying to empower all the guys here. And so we're just very thankful to be here. And more importantly, we're just very thankful for what Carl is doing, not just for myself, but for all the players that are not in the league right now and still have more in the tank. Like you said, they have more in the tank and they can give more, and also basically giving back to the community. Like you said, an opportunity where we come into these cities that don't have basketball. So now we can bring basketball back. And that's basically the biggest thing here. And at the end of the day, like I said, a great opportunity. And I'm looking forward to see if I'm a play, if I'm a coach. But it's a great thing. Like Larry said, we're very competitive. I'm still competitive. I just started back playing in the league. And so now I'm thinking about playing. So hopefully my body can hold up. That's my only thing. Hopefully my body can hold up. But at the end of the day, it's just great what you're doing. And we're very thankful to be here in St. Louis.
Thanks.
All right.
And again, we'll have Q&A and an opportunity for everybody to talk to all the principals individually, and certainly want to continue to mention the Stuart Scott Memorial Cancer Research Fund and the V Foundation. Well, Corey talked about bringing basketball back to St. Louis, as I did when I opened the remarks, and when you talk about anything sports related, bringing it to St. Louis, bringing it back to St. Louis, nobody's done a better job for a long, long time than the St. Louis Sports Commission, and it's a pleasure to bring up a guy who continues to be a focal point in doing those kinds of things, Frank Viverito.
Thank you, Bob, and I appreciate building the microphone for me. I'm delighted to be here to represent the Sports Commission, welcome Carl, Larry, Theo, Corey, and the whole group to St. Louis. It's great to have men's professional basketball back in town. There's so many good things that for St. Louis that are happening from today's announcement. We'll have a wonderful premiere at Chaifetz Arena on January 29th when the league produces its first national event right here in St. Louis. The charitable component, as everyone has acknowledged, is very, very significant, both locally and nationally. They didn't mention some local beneficiaries of these events, but there are several. The Champions League is making a long-term commitment to be visible and present in St. Louis as a benefit to our region, its basketball fans, and most importantly, its young people. And the Champions League cares about good sportsmanship, which is very important to the St. Louis Sports Commission and to our community. Everyone's mentioned basketball history in St. Louis. Everybody knows that St. Louis is a great sports town and a great basketball town, from the glory days of the Hawks to the Spirits to Easy Ed and Spoon and the current group of Slubilicans, from great performances like Bill Walton's at one of our 3 men's Final Fours to hosting as much postseason college basketball as any city in the country, from the Missouri Valley Conference to the 2 NCAA women's Final Fours to the many, many great prospects that have come from our high schools and our amateur basketball programs, and so much more. So at every level in basketball, today's announcement shows that the sport is certainly an important part of our sports history, our sports legacy, and our current sports landscape. So thank you, and welcome to the Champions League.